The underground shelter was silent, except for the soft humming of old machines. Dim yellow lights flickered along the metal walls, making the place look alive and dead at the same time. Dust floated in the air like slow snow. The air smelled of rust, oil, and old paper. It had been years since this place had heard a human voice, and yet, one voice still lived here. She walked slowly through the empty hall, her boots making a dull echo against the steel floor. Her hair was tied back, her face pale from years without sunlight. She was thin, but her eyes were sharp. She carried a small flashlight, even though the corridor had lights. She did not trust them. Any moment, they could die, like everything else in this place. Her name was not important anymore. Once, long ago, it had meaning. But now she was the only one here. Names did not matter when you were the last. Every morning was the same. She checked the generator room, touching the old switches like they were her friends. If the generator failed, the air system would stop and she would not survive. After that, she checked the food storage, rows of cans and dried packs, many of them already spoiled. She counted again and again, whispering numbers like a prayer. 82 days, she whispered. Maybe less. Her voice bounced back from the empty walls. She hated that echo. It made her feel like the shelter was mocking her. Sometimes she spoke out loud just to hear something human, even if it was her own tired voice. After food came the water. The pipes leaked. She had tried fixing them many times, but the rust always returned. She filled her bottle carefully, watching the drops like they were diamonds. Then she walked to the main hall. On the far wall, there was a large sealed door, covered in strange marks. A faint blue glow came from its edges. She had tried to open it many times, but it was locked with a system she did not understand. It was older than her, maybe older than the war itself. Sometimes, when the silence was too much, she sat in front of the glowing door. She talked to it. She asked questions, even though she knew no answer would come. Why are you locked? What's behind you? Did they leave something for me? She imagined voices behind the door. She imagined people waiting, sleeping, hidden away. But the truth was always the same. She was alone. At night, when the machines grew quiet, she could hear things. Above, the world outside was not safe. The war had ended long ago, but the enemies still searched. She had heard their ships, their claws scraping on broken buildings, their growls carried by the wind. The shelter protected her. But for how long? One night weeks ago, she had woken to a sound. A thump, heavy and slow, above the ceiling. Then silence. She had stayed awake for hours, clutching a broken metal pipe like a weapon. But nothing came. She told herself it was only falling debris. Only the world collapsing again. But in her heart, she feared it was them, the hunters. She had survived this long by trusting fear. Fear kept her alive. Today was no different. She walked past the sleeping quarters where empty beds were covered in dust. She walked past the library where torn books lay open like dead birds. She walked past the control room where broken screens showed nothing but static. And then she froze. A sound. It was soft, but it was there. Not the hum of machines, not the drip of water. Something else. Footsteps. Her heart jumped. She pressed herself against the wall, holding her breath. The flashlight shook in her hand. She turned it off, letting the darkness swallow her. The footsteps were above on the surface. Slow. Heavy. Not random. Not like falling rocks. Someone, or something, was moving with purpose. She closed her eyes, counting her breaths. 1, 2, 3. The sound stopped. Silence. She waited, muscles burning, throat dry. Minutes passed, or maybe only seconds. Time lost meaning when fear took over. Finally, she dared to move again. She turned the flashlight back on and hurried to the generator room. She had to check the scanners. They were old, broken, but sometimes they worked. The screen flickered, showing lines of green light. Static covered most of it, but she could see shapes. A blur, a shadow. Something had moved near the entrance above. Her lips trembled as she whispered to herself, "Not possible. No one's left. No one can come back." She pressed her hand against her chest, feeling her heart beat like a drum. For the first time, in years, she felt something stronger than fear. Hope. Could it be? A human? A survivor? But another thought cut into her mind like a knife. What if it wasn't? She walked back to the glowing door, staring at the faint blue light. Her reflection in the metal looked pale and fragile. She touched the surface with her fingertips. "Is he back?" she whispered. Her voice shook. "Or is it something else?" The hum of the machines filled the silence again, but this time, the silence felt different. Something had changed. Far above, on the broken surface of the dead world, someone, or something, was moving closer to the shelter, and she knew her life of silence was about to end. The shelter always felt the same cold air, the same humming machines, the same long corridors. But after hearing the footsteps above, everything felt different to her. The silence now carried a question. Was she really alone? She tried to tell herself it was nothing. Maybe the ceiling had cracked. Maybe a heavy stone had fallen. Maybe it was her imagination after so many years in the dark. But her heart would not listen. It beat fast every time she remembered that sound. Still, she forced herself back into her routine. Routine was survival. If she broke it, she would break herself. She woke early, if it could be called morning in a place without a sun. She tied her hair back, splashed cold water on her face, and whispered the same words she said every day. Alive today. Try again tomorrow. Her breakfast was 1 can of beans and half a biscuit. She ate slowly, making each bite last. Food was a treasure, and she treated it like gold. She chewed in silence, listening to the machines. Every hum, every crack in the pipes, every drop of water had become her music. After eating, she walked to the library. The library was nothing more than 2 shelves and a broken screen, but to her it was the world. Old books lay torn and yellow, smelling of dust. She picked one at random and opened it. The words made little sense sometimes. History of old wars, science notes, children's stories. But she read anyway. She read to remind herself that people had once laughed, learned, dreamed. Sometimes she read out loud just to hear another voice in the air, even if it was only hers. Once upon a time, she whispered, her voice echoing softly. She smiled for a second, then the smile vanished. The memory of footsteps returned. She closed the book and pressed her hands against her ears. Stop it. Stop thinking about it. But the thought never stopped. Later, she went to the control room. The screens were mostly dead, showing only static. But one scanner still worked, barely. She tapped the buttons and the green lines flickered. For a moment, nothing appeared. She almost felt relief. But then, movement. A shape. A shadow. Just for 1 second. Then gone. She stared at the screen, her lips trembling. No. No, no, no. She wanted to believe it was just the machine glitching. The scanner was old, broken, useless. But in her heart, she knew it was real. Something was out there. She shut off the screen and walked fast through the corridor, almost running. She returned to the food storage room, checked the shelves again, counted the cans again. It calmed her. Numbers were solid. Numbers did not lie. 81 days. She whispered this time. 81 days left. She wrote the number on the wall with chalk. The wall was already covered in numbers, hundreds of them, all crossed out. A calendar of survival. Her hand shook as she put the chalk down. She stared at the wall. So many days. So many lonely days. She had survived them all. But could she survive what was coming? The sound of metal groaning above made her jump. She grabbed the broken pipe she used as a weapon. Her knuckles turned white as she held it. The sound stopped again. She waited. Silence returned. She hated silence now. To distract herself, she went to the sleeping quarters. Empty beds stretched before her, each one covered in dust. She ran her hand across the blankets, leaving a clean line on the fabric. She imagined people lying there, breathing, talking, alive. She closed her eyes and almost heard them laughing. She sat on one bed and hugged her knees. "I'm not crazy," she whispered. "I'm not crazy. I just need to hold on." Her eyes moved toward the glowing door at the far end of the hall. The faint blue light leaked into the room like moonlight. She stood and walked toward it slowly, as if the door itself pulled her closer. She touched the surface with her hand. It was cold, always cold. She pressed her ear against it, listening. Nothing, but her mind played tricks. She imagined faint whispers behind the door. She imagined breathing. She imagined someone knocking from the other side. Her breath quickened. She stepped back, shaking her head. No, not real. Not real. Still, the glowing door filled her with questions. Why was it sealed? Why was it glowing? And most of all, why? Did she always feel that something was inside? She turned away quickly, refusing to think about it anymore. Hours passed. She fixed a pipe, swept dust from the corridors, sharpened her metal pipe weapon. She forced herself to do anything, just to keep her mind busy. But when she returned to the control room later, she found something new. The scanner had turned on by itself. The screen flickered with static. And then, clearer this time, movement. A shape near the entrance above. Her mouth went dry. It was not a glitch. She dropped her weapon, her hands trembling. The figure on the screen moved slowly, then stopped as if waiting. She whispered the words she had not dared to speak in years. Someone's out there. Hope and fear battled inside her chest. If it was human, she was not alone anymore. If it was not, then her shelter was no longer safe. She looked at the glowing door once more. The blue light pulsed faintly, almost as if answering her fear. Her life of silence was breaking apart. Something was coming closer, and she did not know if it would save her or destroy her. The shelter had been her cage for years, and she thought she knew every sound it made. The hum of machines, the drip of water, the distant groan of old pipes. But now, another sound echoed in the empty halls, one she had not heard. In so long she almost forgot it existed. Footsteps, not her own. At first she froze in disbelief. She pressed her back against the cold metal wall, her flashlight trembling in her hand. She held her breath, praying the sound would vanish like a dream. But the steps grew louder, moving with weight and purpose. Her heart pounded in her ears. For years she had been alone. No other human voice, no other living face, only shadows of the past and whispers of her imagination. Yet now, someone was here, or something. She tightened her grip on her weapon, a broken steel pipe polished smooth by her hands. She raised it, ready to fight, even though her arms shook. The footsteps reached the entrance hall. She crept closer, her body low, her breath shallow. She peeked around the corner, and there he was. A man. At least he looked like a man. He stood tall, his clothes torn, his armor scratched and burned as if he had walked through fire. His face was hidden beneath a cracked helmet, but his posture was steady, strong. Dust fell from him as he stepped into the shelter like he had traveled through ruins for days. Her throat tightened. She wanted to shout, to call out, to hear his voice, but fear chained her tongue. What if he was not human? What if he was one of them, wearing a mask, a trick to lure her out? The man stopped in the middle of the hall. Slowly, he lifted his helmet and pulled it free. Her breath caught. He had a human face. Rough, scarred, older than she expected. His hair was dark with streaks of gray, his eyes sharp and tired. He looked alive, real, human. For the first time in years, she was staring at another person. She almost dropped her weapon. The man's eyes moved across the room, searching. Then, as if he had always known, his gaze landed directly on her. He spoke. His voice was low, cracked but clear. I finally found you. Her heart skipped. She gripped her weapon tighter, stepping back. Stay away. The man raised his hands, slowly showing he carried no weapon. I'm not here to hurt you. But she didn't lower her pipe. Her voice shook. Who are you? The man looked at her with an expression she could not read, part relief, part sorrow. My name doesn't matter. What matters is that you're alive. Alive. The word echoed in her chest like a bell. No one had spoken it to her in years. How do you know me? She asked. His lips tightened. He stepped closer, careful, slow. Because I was here once. Before the war ended, before they took everything. I knew someone would survive. I prayed it would be you. Her grip loosened just a little. His words felt heavy, too heavy for a lie. But still, doubt gnawed at her. You could be one of them, she whispered. Pretending, the man shook his head. If I were one of them, you'd already be dead. Silence stretched between them. The machines hummed softly, as if listening. Finally, she lowered the pipe, but she did not drop it. Her eyes narrowed. Prove you're human. The man studied her, then pulled a small object from his pocket. A metal tag, scratched but still readable. He held it out. On it was an old human symbol, the kind used before the fall. She recognized it instantly. It was carved into the walls of the shelter itself. Her breath caught again. The tag was real. It was human. Slowly, she lowered her weapon fully. Who are you, really? She asked again, her voice softer. The man looked toward the glowing door at the far end of the hall, the blue light reflected in his tired eyes. I'm someone who left, he said. And now I've come back. Her body tensed. Back? What do you mean? No one comes back. The man's face darkened. He glanced around the shelter, then back at her. This place, it's more than a shelter. It holds something. Something powerful. That's why I'm here. Her heart raced. She had always known the glowing door was important. She had always felt it. What's behind it? She asked. The man shook his head. Not yet. You're not ready to know. But I promise you, it's the reason I returned. Fear and curiosity twisted inside her. She wanted to scream at him, demand answers, but another sound reached her ears, the sound that had haunted her for years. A growl from above. The man's face hardened. They followed me. Her blood turned cold. She stumbled back, gripping her pipe again. No, no. They can't be here. They are, he said firmly. His voice carried no doubt. And if we don't act fast, this shelter won't protect you anymore. For the first time in her life, she wasn't just fighting for her own survival. Someone else had entered her world. Someone who knew more than he said. Someone who had brought danger to her last safe place. She stared at him, fear and anger burning together. You should never have come back. The man's eyes met hers. There was no fear in them, only determination. I had no choice, he said. Because without me, you won't survive what's coming. And then, above them, the ceiling shook. Dust rained down. The growl grew louder. The silence was over. The ceiling above the shelter groaned again, sending a rain of dust and tiny stones to the floor. The woman's heart raced as she gripped her weapon, her knuckles turning white. For years she had feared the noises from above. Now, for the first time, she knew they were real. The stranger looked up, calm but tense. His voice was steady when he spoke. They've tracked me. They know this place is still alive. Her breath shook. You brought them here? His eyes narrowed. No, they were already watching. Always watching. I only gave them a reason to move. Her hands trembled with rage. I was safe before you came. The man turned to her, his gaze sharp. Safe? You think you were safe hiding in these walls? They were never going to leave you alone. They only waited for the right moment. And now that moment is here. She stepped back, fear clawing at her chest. For so long, her entire world was silence, machines, shadows of the past. Now, with his arrival, the silence was breaking, and the nightmare she avoided was finally at her door. "Why are you here?" she demanded. "Why now?" The man's eyes flicked toward the glowing door. The faint blue light shimmered across his face, making him look ghostly. "Because of that," he said softly. She followed his gaze, her stomach twisting. "The sealed door?" "Yes," he replied. "That's why this place exists. Not to hide. Not just to survive. It was built to protect what lies behind it." Her lips parted. All these years she had wondered about the strange glow, the heavy locks, the symbols she could not understand. She had asked questions to the door as if it could answer. And now, finally, someone stood before her with the truth. Her voice shook. "What's behind it?" The man hesitated, his jaw tightened. "Something that can turn the war. Something built by humans long ago, before the fall. A weapon. A mind. A force they feared the enemy would find." She felt her throat dry. "A weapon? Not like guns or bombs," he said. "Something greater. Something alive in a way. An ancient system designed to protect humanity. But it was locked away before it could be used." Her pulse quickened. Hope flared in her chest, but fear smothered it quickly. If such a thing existed, why had no one used it before? Her eyes narrowed. "Then why are you only coming back now? Where were you when everyone died?" The man's expression darkened, shadows filling his face. "I was fighting, out there." He gestured to the world above. "We tried to hold the cities, we tried to push them back, but we were outnumbered, outmatched. I was part of a team sent to find shelters like this one, to protect them, to make sure the enemy never reached what was hidden inside." Her voice rose with anger. "And you failed." The words cut like a blade. He flinched, but only for a moment. Then he met her gaze again, steady and hard. "Yes," he said. "We failed. Most of us never came back. I should not have, but I did. Because this place is the last hope. You are the last hope." Her knees weakened. She gripped the wall, trying to steady herself. His words felt too heavy, too impossible. She was only a survivor, clinging to food cans and broken machines. How could she be anyone's hope? "No," she whispered. "I'm nothing. I'm just alive." "That is enough," he said firmly. "Do you know how rare that is? Do you know how many would have given everything to stand where you are now? You survived when others didn't. And because of that, the weapon still waits." The shelter trembled again. A deep growl rolled through the walls, echoing like thunder. Her eyes widened. "They're here." The man nodded. "Yes, they want what's behind that door, and they will tear this place apart to reach it." Fear flooded her chest. She stepped closer to him, her voice desperate. "Then open it. If it's a weapon, use it. Save us." His expression turned grim. "It's not that simple. The lock requires two. It was designed that way, so one person could never unleash it alone. One survivor to guard it, one to return and unlock it. That's why I came back." Her heart skipped. The realization struck like lightning. All these years she thought she was just a shadow, forgotten, abandoned, but she was here for a reason. Her lips trembled. "So, it needs me." He nodded once. "Yes. Without you, it will never open." Silence hung heavy between them, broken only by the distant roars above. She looked at the glowing door again. The blue light seemed brighter now, pulsing faintly, like a heartbeat. For the first time she felt it calling to her, not with mystery but with purpose. But doubt clawed at her mind. What if he lied? What if this was a trap? What if behind the door was not salvation but something worse? She turned back to him, her voice low. "Why should I trust you?" He stepped closer, his scarred face illuminated by the glow. His eyes burned with fierce determination. Because if you don't, this shelter will be your tomb, and their claws will be the last thing you feel. The ceiling cracked again, dust rained down like ash. The enemy was closer, pressing against the edges of her world. Her breath came fast. She wanted to run. She wanted to hide. But there was nowhere left to go. The man held out his hand. Choose. Stay in the dark, or help me open the light. Her eyes flicked between his hand and the glowing door. Fear and hope battled in her chest. At last, with trembling fingers, she reached out. Not for his hand, for the door. And when her palm touched its cold surface, the blue light pulsed stronger, like it had been waiting for her all along. The shelter shook again, harder this time. The sound rolled through the walls like a giant's fist slamming the earth. Dust fell from the ceiling in thick clouds, covering the floor like gray snow. The woman staggered back, her heart hammering in her chest. For years she had feared the distant noises from above. Now they were no longer distant. They were here. The man remained calm, though his eyes sharpened with urgency. He looked at the ceiling as another growl rumbled overhead. They found the entrance. Her voice cracked. How many? Enough, he said grimly. Too many for us to fight. Her grip on her pipe weapon tightened. Then we run. There's nowhere to run. He cut her off quickly, his voice hard but steady. If we leave the shelter, we die in minutes. If we stay, they'll break in and rip through these walls. There's only one path left. Her eyes darted to the glowing door. The faint blue light pulsed slowly, like the beat of a quiet heart. You mean that? He nodded once. The sound of metal screeched above like claws dragging across steel. The woman flinched. She had heard many sounds in her lonely years, but never one like this. It was hungry, patient. Her legs trembled as she whispered, I don't want to die here. The man's gaze locked on hers. His scarred face was calm, but his voice carried steel. Then help me open it, it's the only way. For a moment she couldn't breathe. Her life had been survival in silence, counting food cans, fixing broken machines, whispering to walls. And now, suddenly, she was standing on the edge of something greater, something terrifying. She turned away, her chest tight. What if what's inside is worse than what's outside? The man stepped closer. His shadow stretched long across the blue glow of the door. Then at least we will know. At least we will try. Hiding won't save us anymore. The shelter groaned again. This time a loud crash echoed through the halls. The ground shook beneath their feet. Something heavy had landed above the main corridor. They're breaking through, he said. His voice remained calm, but his hand tightened into a fist. The woman's breath came fast. Her mind screamed at her to run, to hide, to curl into the shadows and pretend it wasn't real. But deep inside, another voice whispered, You survived. This long. Don't stop now. Her eyes returned to the glowing door. The blue light seemed brighter now, pulsing faster as if answering her fear. She stepped forward, placing her hand against its cold surface once more. The man moved beside her, laying his palm flat against another symbol etched into the door. The blue light flared. A low hum filled the shelter, deeper than the old machines, older than the walls. The air vibrated, making her bones ache. The symbols along the door glowed brighter, spreading like veins of light. Her eyes widened. It's waking up. Yes, the man said. But it needs more. It needs both of us. It was always meant to be unlocked by two. The shelter shook again, this time with a thunderous impact. Dust rained down in thick clouds. Above them, the screeching of metal gave way to the heavy thud of something breaking through stone. The woman's voice trembled. They're almost in. Then we don't stop, he said firmly. We keep going. Her pulse pounded. The glow from the door spread across her hand, climbing her arm like fire. She gasped but did not pull away. The light didn't burn. It felt alive, warm, as if recognizing her. She looked at him. His face was tight with focus, his arm glowing the same way. "What is it doing?" she whispered. "Testing us," he said, "seeing if we are ready." The idea made her stomach twist. How could a door test them? How could it judge them? Before she could ask more, a roar split the air. The ceiling cracked. A claw, long and black, pierced through the stone, curling like a hook. She screamed, stumbling back. The man grabbed her arm, pulling her toward the door. "Stay with me. Don't break contact." Her hand trembled, but she pressed it back to the glowing surface. The light pulsed harder, faster. The hum turned into a deep vibration, shaking the entire shelter. Another crash above. Another claw tore through. A second roar shook the air. "They're coming," she cried. "And so is this," he answered, his voice hard. "Trust it. Trust me." The light flared so bright it blinded her. She squeezed her eyes shut. The hum turned into a low, thunderous beat. She felt the ground vibrate under her boots. Then, suddenly, silence. The roars above stopped. The claws froze mid-motion. Her breath caught in her throat. She opened her eyes slowly. The door was glowing like a small sun. The blue light spread across the walls, through the cracks, into the floor. Every corner of the shelter glowed with life. The man's voice was low, filled with awe. "It knows we're here. It knows we've chosen." The woman's heart pounded in her chest. She had lived in silence for so long, hiding, waiting for death. But now she felt something she had not felt in years. Not just fear, hope, and yet the claws above twitched again. The silence shattered as the creatures roared louder than before, furious and hungry. The ceiling cracked wide, pieces of stone crashing to the floor. The man pulled her closer to the door, shouting over the noise. "Hold on, it's almost ready." Her hand shook against the glowing surface. Her mind screamed in terror, but she pressed harder, refusing to let go. The blue light flared once more, brighter than ever. And then, with a sound like 1,000 locks snapping at once, the door began to open. The door groaned as it began to move, heavy locks sliding free after. Years of silence. The glowing light spilled out in blinding waves, washing the corridor in blue fire. The woman shielded her eyes, her heart racing. Behind her, the ceiling cracked again. The alien claws screeched against stone, desperate to break through. Dust rained down, mixing with the unnatural glow. The man's voice was calm, but fierce. "Don't stop, whatever happens, stay with me." The woman's hand shook against the door, but she did not pull away. The warmth of the light kept her steady. It felt alive, as if something on the other side was reaching back to her. At last, the massive door slid open. Cold air rushed out, carrying the faint smell of ozone like lightning after a storm. She gasped. Inside was not another hall. It was not a room of weapons or soldiers waiting. It was something else. A vast chamber stretched before them, its walls lined with strange machines that glowed softly, as if they had been waiting for centuries. In the center stood a tall structure like a crystal tower, glowing with the same blue light as the door. Wires, tubes, and ancient symbols ran across its surface. It pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. The woman whispered, her voice trembling. "What is that?" The man's eyes locked on the tower. His voice dropped to a whisper. "The Guardian." Her breath caught. The word felt heavy, sacred. "Guardian," he nodded. "It's not just a machine. It's not just a weapon. It's something more. A mind, a protector, built by the humans before the fall. They created it to fight when all else failed." Her knees weakened. She gripped the wall, staring at the crystal tower in awe. She had dreamed of something behind the glowing door, but never this. "It's alive?" she asked. "In a way," he said. "Not human, not alien. Something greater, an intelligence that remembers, that waits, that protects. It was sealed so the enemy could never twist it. Only humans together could wake it." The tower pulsed again, brighter now. The air hummed around them. For the first time, the shelter did not feel like a tomb. It felt awake. The woman stepped closer, her eyes wide. The glow reflected in her pale face. "It's beautiful." A deep voice filled the chamber. Not human, not mechanical. Something in between. It echoed from everywhere, and nowhere calm yet overwhelming. Two remain. At last. The woman gasped, stumbling back. The man stayed steady, his face calm. "It knows we're here," he said softly. The voice continued. "For years I slept, waiting, watching. One alone could not call me. Two together, human blood and human, will could bring me back." Her lips trembled. It can talk?" The man nodded. "It's been waiting for us, waiting for you." The ceiling shook again. A massive crash echoed outside the chamber. The aliens had broken deeper into the shelter. Screeches and growls carried through the halls. The woman panicked. "They're almost here. Can it fight them?" The Guardian's glow pulsed. "I can defend, but my power is not endless. I was made to protect more than this shelter. I was made to protect humanity. But I need a guide, a voice to command, one who has endured." The woman stared at it, her chest tightening. "Me?" The voice replied. "You survived alone, you carried the silence. You endured when all others fell. You are proof that hope remains. Will you guide me?" Her hands shook. She stepped back, shaking her head. "I'm not a leader, I'm nobody. I just stayed alive." The man stepped forward, his voice firm. "You're wrong. Surviving is more than most could do. You kept this place alive. That makes you stronger than you know." Another roar split the air, closer this time. The ground shook beneath their feet. Somewhere in the corridors, metal bent and snapped. The Guardian's voice boomed. "Choose quickly. If I do not act now, all is lost." The woman's eyes darted between the man and the glowing tower. Fear choked her, but something stirred inside. A spark she had buried long ago. She lifted her chin, though her voice trembled. "What do I do?" The Guardian pulsed brighter. "Step into the light. Place your hand upon me. Give me your will, and I will give you my strength." The woman hesitated. Then slowly she walked to the tower. Her steps echoed through the chamber, small and fragile, yet steady. She raised her trembling hand and pressed it against the glowing crystal. The light surged. The chamber exploded with brilliance. The hum grew into a roar that shook the very air. Energy shot through the walls, racing into the shelter, spreading out like veins of fire. The woman gasped, her body trembling as warmth flowed through her arm, her chest, her heart. It was not pain. It was power. She heard the Guardian's voice inside her mind now, soft and close. "I am yours, you are mine, together we rise." Her breath caught. She could feel everything. The machines, the walls, the cracks in the ceiling, the creatures above clawing at the shelter. The Guardian was showing her the world through its eyes. The man watched, his expression a mix of awe and relief. "It chose you." The ceiling cracked wide. A massive alien dropped into the corridor outside, its body black and twisted, its eyes glowing with hunger. It screeched, shaking the walls. The woman turned toward the sound. Her hand still rested on the crystal, but her fear was gone. Her eyes glowed faintly blue, the same as the tower. Her voice was calm, steady, filled with new strength. "They will not take this place." The Guardian's glow flared, and the machines around the chamber roared to life. Weapons hidden in the walls unfolded. Energy surged through the floor. The shelter itself became alive. The man smiled grimly, gripping his own weapon. "Then let's make sure of it." The first battle cry of the aliens echoed down the hall, but this time she did not hide. This time she was ready. The walls of the shelter shook with violence as the first alien tore its way inside. Its body was huge, twisted with black armor-like skin, and its eyes burned like fire. It screeched, a sound sharp enough to make the woman's bones ache. For years she had hidden from this sound. For years she had feared it in the distance. Now it was here, filling the halls with its rage. But she did not step back. The blue glow, from the Guardian burned in her eyes, steady and strong. Her hand remained pressed to the crystal tower, and its voice whispered in her mind, calm and certain. "Do not fear. My power is yours." The alien charged forward, claws scraping the metal floor. The man raised his weapon, ready to fight, but before he could strike, the walls of the chamber came alive. Energy pulsed from hidden vents. Beams of light shot out like spears, striking the alien in the chest. It screamed, stumbling, its black skin burning under the blue fire. The woman gasped, but she did not flinch. She felt the Guardian's strength flow through her veins. She understood the machines as if they were her own limbs. The shelter was no longer just walls and pipes. It was alive, and she was its heart. The man glanced at her, awe in his eyes. "You're controlling it." Her lips parted. "No, we're controlling each other." Another roar echoed. More aliens were coming. Their claws smashed against the broken ceiling, their screeches filling the air. The first creature collapsed, its body burning away under the Guardian's energy, but many more were pushing closer. The Guardian's voice filled her mind again. "You must choose. My power is vast but not endless. I can protect this place for a time, or I can unleash everything and burn them all. But the cost will be high." Her chest tightened. "What cost?" The Guardian pulsed, the glow flickering. "If I give all my strength now, the shelter will fall. I will end them, but this place will not survive. If I hold back, you may endure, here longer. But they will never stop hunting. They will return again and again." Her breath came fast. Her home. The shelter that had kept her alive for so many years. The place of silence and survival. It would be gone. The man stepped closer, his voice steady. "Listen to it. This is bigger than this shelter, bigger than us. If you let it, the Guardian can do more than protect walls. It can protect the future." Her eyes burned with tears. "If we destroy the shelter, we'll have nothing left. We'll have each other," he said firmly, "and a chance to fight back." The aliens roared louder. The ceiling cracked wider, and two more of them dropped down, their claws scraping across the floor. They moved fast, their eyes locked on the chamber. The Guardian's hum grew deeper, the machines charging again. But it did not act without her. It waited for her will. Her heart pounded. She looked at the man. He stood ready, weapon raised, scars marking his face, his eyes fierce. He had come back for this moment. She looked at the glowing tower. For years she had asked the door questions. Now, at last, it gave her one. Her voice shook, but her words were clear. "Do it. Unleash everything, Theo." Guardian's glow flared brighter than the sun. The woman screamed as the energy poured through her. Not pain, but power so strong it shook her soul. The machines in the chamber roared. The walls split open, revealing hidden weapons older than memory. Blue fire erupted. Beams of energy tore through the corridors, burning the aliens where they stood. Their screeches filled the air, shaking the earth, but one by one they fell, their black bodies crumbling under the light. The ground trembled as the power spread beyond the shelter, blasting through the ruins above. Outside, the enemy forces screamed in rage and terror as the Guardian unleashed its full strength, sweeping across the land in a wave of destruction. The woman held on, her eyes glowing, her body trembling. She could feel the Guardian's will, merging with her own, their voices joining as one. "For humanity," the Guardian whispered. "For humanity," she echoed. And then, silence. The light dimmed. The chamber shook, dust falling in heavy clouds. The walls cracked, the machines groaned. The shelter, once her cage, now her fortress, was breaking apart. She stumbled forward, her strength fading, but the man caught her. His arms held her steady as the crystal tower's glow began to fade. "It's done," he said softly. Her chest heaved. "The shelter." He looked around at the crumbling walls, then back at her. "It's gone. But we're not. That's what matters." She turned, her gaze to the fading light of the Guardian. For a moment she thought she heard its voice one last time, soft as a dream. "Live. Carry hope. I will not be the last." The crystal tower shattered, glowing fragments drifting into the air like falling stars. The woman's eyes filled with tears, but she did not look away. She had lost her home, but she had gained something greater: purpose. The man helped her to her feet as the ground rumbled again. They stumbled toward the exit, the collapsing halls groaning around them. For the first time, she was not afraid of leaving. For the first time, the world above did not feel like death. Together, they climbed toward the surface. When they emerged, the air was sharp and cold. The sky was dark, filled with the smoke of ruined cities. But the land was silent. The enemy had been burned away, at least for now. The woman stood, breathing in the open air. Her heart ached, but her spirit did not bend. She was no longer alone. She was no longer only surviving. The man looked at her, his expression weary but proud. "This is only the beginning." She nodded, her eyes glowing faintly with the last of the Guardian's light. She gazed at the horizon, broken yet vast, and whispered, "We are not alone anymore, and we are not finished." The wind carried her words into the ruins, and for the first time in years, silence did not feel like death. It felt like the start of something new.